Alrighty. Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone is doing fine today. I have thought today we would do a little bit of, we're here to chat, don't misunderstand, but I thought I'd also do a demo on how to start a full coverage. I get many questions on starting a full coverage piece, and what to do once you finish a diagonal. Good morning, Sky. How are you this morning? I get a lot of questions on how to finish that diagonal, what you do at the end of the first one, and then what you do at the end of all the diagonals. So I thought, okay, let's pretend that people, or let's use this video for people who this might be their first time doing a full coverage piece, and they've never done it before. So I'm going to start at the very beginning and work from there, and we'll do some stitching to show how that goes. So this might be a rather long stream, but that's okay because we haven't done a rather long one in a while. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is pick our pattern, and I use Oh, why is my light getting in the way here? What the heck's going on? Here we go. I must have bumped my camera a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. All right. So, good morning, Barbara. You're doing your first Heaven and Earth. Absolutely wonderful. Good for you. Good for you. So I hope this will help get you started. So as most of you already know, I use Pattern Keeper. It's the only way to go for me. Once I found this, I would have a hard time going back to paper, because Pattern Keeper makes it so easy. So what I'm going to do to get my pattern is, I have a Samsung tablet here, and I have Pattern Keeper already installed. So I'm going to click on Pattern Keeper and open it, and as you can see, I already have some charts in here. But the one I'm going to start today and walk you all through the process is the mini log cabin. So down here, see, I got a lot of charts on here already. Down here, maybe if I turn it this way, it'll be easier. Here we go. All right. Down in your bottom right corner, there's an X, or a plus sign. We're going to click on that, and then it's going to ask us, do we want to open a PDF file? And to that, I'm going to say yes, open PDF. And that's going to take me to my downloads. And since I do have mini log cabin in there, so it is in my download file. But what you will do is, here you have options. You can use your recent. You can use files from your Galaxy tab, from an Android. You can get them from Google Drive. You can get them from Dropbox, File Manager, My Files. So anything that you have available on your tablet will come listed here. Mine, fortunately, is under, okay, let me go back. Mine is under downloads, because I had downloaded it already. But I did delete it so that we could download it again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let's see if I can get it. Okay, here's mini log cabin. I'm going to tap on that, and it's going to start doing the spinny wheel thing. Okay, so now it wants me to verify my chart. So I'm going to click on that. And here it shows the import. It shows all the DMC numbers. Now, if I want to check, are all those numbers and symbols correct, I would go over here and hit PDF. And now that's going to bring up the actual PDF that I downloaded. Okay, there's the picture. That's what we're going to be starting today. There's the information. It's 325 by 232. It uses 90 colors. And then we have all the regular pages, and we can flip up here to the chart. Okay, oh, it's my tablet that's doing that. Okay, we can flip up here to the chart and see the symbols and the color numbers. And if everything is okay, what we do then is, okay, let me get it. Okay, hit this arrow, and voila, my chart is in. Okay, now a lot of the questions that I get is, oh, my chart looks like this when I put it in, and there's nothing there. Help! What do I do? What do I do? Okay. All you do is pinch your fingers and go like this. And the more you open it up, the bigger it gets, the more symbols you see. Okay? So it's now in Pattern Keeper. We need to then figure out our fabric, and here is what we do. Okay, we know the chart is 325 stitches by 232 stitches. And this is where I get my handy dandy little calculator, because I don't use the calculators online. I always do my own math. If you want to use your calculator online, you can certainly do that. However, I do my own math. So I go to my handy dandy little calculator and I type in 325. And I know I'm going to be using 20 count fabric today. I have 20 count easy grid that I'm going to use. So I take the 325, I divide it by 20, and that gives me 16 1/4 inches. Now, that's the design area. That is not the size of fabric that you need to cut. That's the design area. So to that, I'm going to add 6 inches. So that tells me I need 22 1/4 inches for my width. For my height, I do the same thing. So let's clear that. And if you have questions along the way here, folks, please stop me. And good morning to everybody that's joining. It's good to see you all here. I'm glad you stopped by. And I'm doing it this way so that everyone can ask questions as we go through this and get your answers right away. It's a fun thing. So our height is 232. And we do exactly the same thing. We divide it by 20, which gives us 11.6 inches. And then we add another 6 inches for the border, means that we have to cut it 17.6. So our fabric size is now 22.5 by 17.6 inches. Okay. Good morning, Leah, and good morning, everybody else that I may have missed. This is the size we want to cut our fabric. Okay, and that's how you figure it out. So the simple formula is fabric count divided, scratch that, start over. Stitch count divided by fabric count plus 6 inches. That's your formula. Stitch count divided by fabric count plus 6 inches will give you the size to cut your fabric. So now we know, since we added 6 inches, that we have a 3-inch border on every side. Okay? So let's get rid of this. We can get rid of this. I don't think we have to write anymore. And let's pull up this. So now I already put the fabric, my fabric, on the Q-snap. But let me pull another piece of fabric, okay, to show you what I did. This is one I'm stitching on, but I can use this as an example on the non-stitched part, okay? If you want to just double check what I do is measure in 3 inches. Where am I here? Okay. I would measure in 3 inches. Say that's my 3 inch mark. Up 3 inches. So roughly about there. And I would count my squares. I know that each square is 10 stitches. So to get my width, I would count over 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100. And then go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 200. And then I would count over to 300 and add 25. And now I know, because my stitch count is that from this point to this point is going to be my design area. Okay? So it's going to fit on this piece of fabric. I would do the same for the height. I would start at my same starting point and count up. Okay. And count up the same number of stitches, and that way I would know that yes, in fact, it's going to fit on this piece of fabric. So I have done that already, and I have put, okay, I thought I had this all worked out to be right in line where it needs to be. So bear with me here. There we go. I have it all worked out that that is my starting point, and it is going to fit on this piece of fabric. So I marked it. I actually put 2 needles here, one to keep the point and this other one I will pull out to, because I know it is this line. So I'll pull that out to actually thread my needle. Now, back to Pattern Keeper for a second. Most everybody, and the way I did it in the very beginning when I did my first videos on pattern or on stitching on the diagonal, we all started up here in the top right corner. And I'm sorry about the glare. This light on the tablet is reflecting. So we all started in the top right corner. I started my Stitcher's Retreat in the top right corner. However, hi Candy, glad you could make it. However, what I have found, since Stitcher's Retreat is such a large chart and a large piece of fabric, by starting at the top, now I have all this weight at the top that I have to hold while I'm working down closer and closer to the bottom. And it's getting a little cumbersome. And the other thing is, since I started on the left-hand side, if I put it in a Q-snap and put it on my Lowry stand, I'm actually having to put that finished fabric under the clamp. Now, granted, and I have said this, and I'll say it many more times, crushed stitches, once you wash it, will bounce right back up, and it is not a big issue. However, if I can avoid doing that, I'm going to avoid doing that. So instead of starting in this top right corner like I have in the past, I'm going to start in, top left corners, pardon me. I'm going to start in, once I get there, in the bottom right. Okay, so this is my bottom right corner, and that's where I'm going to start. Okay, now before I start, what I want to do is go up here under settings, and that takes me to this page, and I'm going to take away the page breaks. I like to use translucent highlights just because it gives me a better idea of what I did and didn't do. I'm going to add my diagonal lines. So my diagonal lines, I want to go from the lower left to the upper right. And I want them to be every 10 stitches, and I'll have them in red. Now, one of the newer features is these shortcuts, which I truly do love. And I am so sorry for this crazy glare. Okay. I'm going to, in the move mode, have it that I can search and highlight with a double click. I can single stitch. I can park in my lower left corner, and I can double click to finish the stitches or to frog the stitches, which is a whole lot easier. You don't have to use, and then I'm going to go back to my pattern, you don't have to use these things as much, because you can double click things now. So, as I said, we're going to start in this lower right corner. Okay, so my first stitch is going to be this one. Let's put it in this. Okay, it's going to be this one right here. All right, so with that, I think we're ready to start stitching. Okay, everybody with me so far? I don't see any questions coming up, so when you do, or if you do, please just put it in the chat, and I will be happy to answer your questions. Right, I'm going to try and set my tablet here so that I can bring it down. Oops, wrong. There we go. Okay, so I'm double tapping that first symbol, and that first symbol's color is 3787. All right, looks like I used that before. So yes, I'm a bobbin. I use the Bags Plus system. Now, here's another easy little trick. Instead, a lot of people try and separate their threads by going like this, and then you end up with a knotted mess sometimes. So what I do is I pinch them, pinch it between my fingers, take a hold of one strand. Okay, keep coming along right here. Take a hold of just one strand, keep it between your fingers, pinching, and just pull up. Okay, everything will stay together. You just straighten it out again when you're done. Easiest way to separate your floss. If you're going to use two strands, you pull two, only one at a time, pull two, and then put them back together before you thread your needle. Okay, so we're gonna take this needle here, and my trick for threading is to lay it over my finger like so. Take the needle, lay it on top, and just push up. And you see how the loop pops up? And you just pull it through and you're threaded. So now, let me move my tablet down here. Okay, so now we're ready to start. I'm going to take this pin or this needle out because I know now I'm starting at this block, and I'm going to do a little bit of an away start. I'm going to come up, and this, whatever stitching method you use, I'm going to come up, and I'm going to do my first X right here. I'm going to cross that up. And that's what I do all the time, is I catch the thread on my hand. I'm actually going to do it this way because we're stitching from the bottom up, so my fingers get in the way of myself. Okay. There we go. And I'm going to do stitch. Oh, you didn't know the trick, Candy? Yep, it takes a little practice, but once you get it, it's really great. Okay, so I'm stitching at a weird angle for me here, so bear with me. Okay, so now I have my thread secured, and okay, let me see if I can get you in just a little bit closer. Hold on. Okay, what did I do here? Hold on a second. Oh, wait. Oh. Technology, my friends. It's great. There we go. Okay, hopefully that is better. Now, there we go. There we go. Now we're closer. Okay, try this again. Well, good morning, Christine. How are you? So, we're going to complete the first stitch, and then we know that there is a second stitch of that color. Okay. There's a second stitch of that color, so I'm going to stitch that one right away. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is park it here in the upper right hand corner where my next stitch occurs, which is one up between these two. So I'm going to get rid of this little thread here and pull it to the back. And on Pattern Keeper, I'm going to mark these two as finished, and I'm going to mark the other one as, I'm going to mark my park thread. So then I'm going to go to my next color, which is 645. And I have I know, don't put the needle in your mouth, but I didn't put a needle minder on here. So I'm going to stick it in the fabric. 645. And I'm going to get my thread for that. The scissors are under here. So hi Arrow, how are you this morning? I hope you're doing good. Okay, 645. We're going to thread that one. And again, I just lay it over. And this is why I don't mind all the rethreading of this method, because really it just goes so fast. So then my next stitch is going to be, minus that hair, is going to be between the two that I already did. And I'm going to do the same thing. You can also, if you choose, start your threads with a pin stitch. I just find this little away thing and stitching over it just a little bit quicker. So my next stitch of this color is here, so I'm going to park it there. And I'm going to mark this as stitched, and I'm going to mark my park thread. Now, my last color in this diagonal is 3799. Okay, I think it's best if I move this over here. I'll do the same thing. Pull, just hold on to your threads and pull this out. It all bunches up like so. Just straighten it out. Put it back on your bobbin, or if you use thread drops or whatever. And now I have 4 stitches in a row of this color. Okay, so I'm gonna put my thread down there like I did before. I'm gonna stitch those 4 stitches. Yes, I am teaching today, Arrow. So I hope this is beneficial for everybody. And like I said, please ask your questions. Yeah, Candy, I always tend to stitch on a higher count fabric. Normally I have been using 25 and 28. Mainly so I can keep the size down. However, for ease of visual, to be able to see a little better, I've decided now that I'm probably going to, I stitched that the wrong way. I'm probably going to switch now to 20 count or 22 count, because it's easier to see. These poor eyes aren't getting any younger. Okay, guys, don't do what I just did. Don't do this, what I just did. See where I started on the line? This just goes to show you the mistakes we can make. Look at my chart. That last square is 2, 4, 5 stitches wide. So where should I have started? I should have started 5 stitches to the left of the line. So I should have started over here instead of back here on the line. So, my stitchy friends, what the world's going on out front? Sorry, I'm being distracted by this big truck that was turning around. Okay, so guess what? The frog has already come to visit us on this piece. So please bear with me while we fix it. Welcome to my world. Okay, that's the third color. Okay. It happens to the best of us. And some people that and I have seen people do the same thing, and then their stitching grids do not match the chart grids, and let me tell you, that's one good way to get yourself all kerfluffled for the whole project. So let's try this again. Here we go. Okay, we're going to kick Mr. Frog to the curb, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th stitch. And we're going to pull off. My fingers always catch this needle. Okay. So we're going to go back to the beginning. All right. I don't know, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this today. Oh. 1. Oh, there goes that truck again. I didn't know what he wanted. 1 and 1. And yes, folks, sometimes I do stitch two-handed and sometimes I stitch one-handed. Ever since I've had trouble with my left hand, and as you can see, it's still in a brace. I can use it to stitch two-handed, and things are far better than they had been. However, it does get tired rather quickly, so I tend to more often stitch one-handed. My first line is 2 below the grid line. Oh, Teresa, you're awesome. I would have done it again. I need to pay closer attention. This is what happens when you start at the bottom to get your first stitches in the right place. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Or we would have been getting to the top of this diagonal and gone, what the heck is going on here? And now I feel this itty bitty little knot. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, one more time. 2 below the grid line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here we go. Now we go. Barbara, did you need my attention to tell me I was doing it wrong again? Or did you have another question? Okay. Now, I think we're in the right place. So, we are now 2 below the grid line. We got the first 2 stitches in. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're going to park up here. And double check this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we should be good. I think this is the next one. Tell me I need to look up more often and read my chat, eh? Okay, now, at this rate, it's going to take us forever to finish this little diagonal, isn't it? We're going to put this color, and of course it always catches on that little thing in here. And then we pull it all the way through. Ah! Why is it when you're in front of the camera, things always go a little south? But we'll get there. Okay, now this is the last one in this row. Now I will tell you, when you are stitching, let me get these out of the way, pull them back. When you're working on the diagonal, or when you're working in columns row by row, you have options, okay? You can do as I'm doing here and work 1 stitch at a time. What you can do 1 stitch at a time, or you can color complete in the row. You can cross country within the diagonal. So you have options. What I suggest is decide what's going to work for you. I have found for myself personally, going color by color or stitch by stitch across the row, for me gets less confusing. I know exactly where I am, and I don't have to think about, oh, I didn't want to do that. I don't have to think about it so much. I just stitch the next color that comes up, and so be that. So we're going to park this one here. Now, here's where Yes, Cindy, I think you're right. A lot of people are taught to start in the middle. And you can certainly start a heaven and earth design in the middle. And, if you want to start in the middle and work that diagonal, depending on whether you like to stitch up to the top or stitch down from from the middle, it's up to you. You can do it either way. And you start in the middle and you can work your diagonal either down or up and work then from the middle to the top or from the middle to the bottom. Again, it's whatever your preference is. I'm just showing the way I start, and I decided to do a bottom start this time because not everybody likes to start in the upper left hand corner. Some people like to start at the bottom and work up. Again, I found that I think I'm going to be a bottom starter because then my bulk because these are really like a tapestry. So then my heavy fabric is going to be in my lap or at the bottom opposed to having it at the top. No, Barb, the threads I pull to the back, they don't get knotted. It's not that long of a tail, and actually they will probably get stitched over at some point or another. So now here on this second row, I can make a choice. I can start here along the right hand side again, or I can do if anybody watches Handwork Maniac and Boss Daughter does a zigzag deal where she stitches right to left, then left to right, then right to left, then left to right, up and down her column. You can do the same thing on the diagonal. You can zigzag your way up or down that diagonal. So for today, I'm going to zigzag. So now my next color is going to be 413. And I probably should have rethreaded needles. You don't like going up, Candy. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people like going down. So if you like going down, instead of starting here on the bottom row, you would find this bottom starting point and count up to your first stitch in that diagonal so that you could work down. And then you would count up again. The next diagonal you would count up again so you could work down. Up again so you could work down. So again, it's preference. Whatever you like to do. When I first started cross stitching, many a long year ago, as I say, back in the cave days, I always started at the bottom and worked up. For me, I found my stitches looked nicer that way. And the other thing was I didn't know any better because I'm self-taught. I did not know any different than to start at the bottom and work up. That just seemed the logical thing for me to do. Somewhere along the line then, I found out people started at the top and worked down. So I switched to that. Okay. And now I'm going to park this thread up here. Okay. Now that's the thing with working up. You end up, but you have the same thing working down. You end up having to move your threads out of the way to park. So what I just did was, what I just did was this stitch right here. So I'll mark that as done, and I parked it here. Okay? So now I'm going to do these two stitches and park it above the second one. Okay, and that's 9. Caught. 934. Now this is the slow part, you know, when you have all the threads to start, and of course in this first diagonal you have a gajillion of them. So I'm going to do, and of course, like I said, when you're doing this in front of an audience, it always is a little bit, it goes a little bit slower, and you fumble and mess up a little bit more just because it's in front of people. Okay. 1. The other thing I find when I'm doing this is it is best practice is to mark your stitches right away. And don't wait and do a whole bunch and then go back and mark them. Mark your stitches right away. Okay. Now, the next 3 I have parked. So I can pull this one, and it's only 1 heart. Let me see if I can try and, without too much trouble, let's try this. I know you're not supposed to show the pattern, but let's just try this. Go this way a little bit, and this way a little. Okay, this way a little bit, and this way a little. Okay, so now I'm stitching that heart, that solid heart, and I'm going to park it I'm going to park it here because I parked that other one wrong. Okay, so this one actually has to go up 1. Silly me, didn't count right. See, when you park it wrong, you usually find it very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to mark this one as stitched, and this one is parked. And then I'm going to go, so hopefully you're getting the idea here. I'm sorry, normally I would have probably had this finished already if I wouldn't have goofed. Okay, so this one is going to go here. And then, if we highlight this, we see that the next occurrence is up here. So we're gonna park it up here, and we're gonna mark this one done. So that's going to be, we already have one parked here, so we're gonna skip one and go up one more, and let's double check it, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down from the grid line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the 7th one down. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 6th one down. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm in the total wrong hole. No wonder. See, double check yourselves. There we go. I forget that I'm parking at the top as opposed to the bottom. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I always have been working from the top down, so I'm gonna have to adjust my thinking here a little bit to be able to work from the bottom up and not get totally confused. So, what happened there? Knotted onto my needle. So just bear with me. I thought about starting this before I did this live, but then I went, no, then people don't get to experience the whole start to finish deal. There we go. There we go. All right, so now we have just this question mark to do, and that one also is a parked thread. My little balancing act here. So hopefully that's giving you the idea of what I'm doing. So I'm going to do this stitch here. Okay. And the next occurrence is in the next row, 1 over. Okay. So I'm going to park it there. Now, I could just stitch this right away, which I think I'm going to do, because then what I'm going to do, and I do this on the first diagonal when it's this little itty bitty bit of stitches, I will now put this over into my, so let's mark that one and that one as stitched. And as you can see, there's, oh, okay, I lie. There's one more up here. If this one was not here, I would carry it over to this diagonal and park it here. So after I stitch that stitch, I will park it down in that next diagonal. Oh, Candy, good. I'm glad it helped you start. Sorry that you have to go, but I'll be working this diagonal and at least this next one. So you can always watch the replay. But thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it and hope you come back again. so let's see. Now we're going to do the heart, the solid heart. Okay, now that you have an idea of what I'm doing, let me see what, okay, let me, how do I, okay, somehow I have my, hold on a second. You have a question. You finally received your material pack. I'm wondering how you prepare your floss for stitching and all the floss cards on rings. Can I just cut the bottom loop? Yes, absolutely. No, you can just cut the bottom loop and use it right off of those rings if you prefer. Some people take it off of those rings and put them onto bobbins. They don't cut it and put it on bobbins. Some people take it off the rings and put them in floss bags. It's up to you, whatever method of floss storage you would like to do, or what you normally do, you can do. The kit that I got, I actually started out with it just cutting the loops and leaving it on those cards that they come on, except what I found is that it kept getting tangled and the ends of the floss kept getting fuzzy, and I personally didn't like that. So it would really be your preference. I'm going to move this tablet now so that you've pretty much got the idea of how I'm doing that. It really is your preference, what you would prefer to do. If you have a system that works for you, then work that floss into the system that you're comfortable with. I think it is very nice that Heaven and Earth puts it on cards like that already have your symbol and number on there. However, if that doesn't work for you, then move it into a system that does. I personally, I don't even have to use my glasses with this fabric. I personally use this Bags Plus system. Let me hold it up here under this other camera. Okay, because I can easily see the number, and I can, it saves my having to hunt around through different cards to find the correct number of floss. But again, that's totally your preference. Okay, I have to adjust something here, so I'm blocking my chat. Hold on until here we go. Oops, now I lost your comment. I'm so sorry. Could you type it again, whoever that was? There we go. Oh, good Lord. Okay, let me do this. See if it comes in this window. Oh gosh, that don't work either. Okay, you're gonna shoot me, but I adjusted the size of my chat and now I lost you again. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm also very new to this. I was using a different software before, and now I'm using this one, and I'm still in a bit of a learning curve. So, my apologies. One of these days I'll get it right. Okay. We're soon done with this column. Or this um, okay, here's an example. Let me just frog that one. I just completed this stitch here. And it is not used again until my next diagonal. Okay, so I stitched there. It's not used again till the first row of my next diagonal, and it is the first stitch inside the gray line. I am not going to end this off here to restart over there. I am going to park it over in that next diagonal. Okay, especially when doing this first diagonal, I don't always end them off. So on this one, I will park it over here. And yes, this does take a little bit longer when you have all these new threads to start. Tilt just a little bit this way. And when you're working at a different angle than what you're accustomed to, and as you can see, I'm parking in the same place as I parked before, because even though I think I thought I had that right, I was one row off. So you do find your mistakes right away, and you can fix it right away. So let's put it up here. Where it belongs. Okay. So now my next step is this one. let's see where we go next. That's the beauty of Pattern Keeper, is you can, you don't have to hunt where your next stitch is going to be. It finds it for you. So let's mark it up here. Mark this one. And what color is that one? 3740. Yeah, it's a lot of stopping and starting, or a lot of starting in the beginning. So I hope this is helping people who are wanting to stitch on the diagonal, or who are starting Heaven and Earth designs for the first time and want to try diagonal stitching. If you want to stitch, if you prefer to stitch in your 10 stitch wide columns, it's the same. The process is the same. It's, you just have to find what method is going to work for you, and what works for you might not work for me. So, because everybody's different. Two, three, 1, 3, 4. But as you see, I am parking in the next column here, or in the next diagonal, because it doesn't make much sense to end these off and start new threads in that column. So that is also a choice that you make. When I first started diagonal stitching, there was absolutely no way I was going to park in the next column. However, I have found that sometimes that's just kind of dumb to end off your thread to start it again just a few stitches away. So if you want to go ahead and park it over there. You know, again, it's whatever you're comfortable with. There's no right way, and there's no wrong way. There's only your way. Okay. Here. Oops. Here. And here. And now we need a new color. Don't it figure? So I said a lot of new colors when we start. Oh, I done a lot of miscounting here. This should be up one. I am so used to counting the gray line when you work on 25 count. And on this one, the gray line is actually, on this 20 count, the gray line is actually betweened. So that always gets me a little confused. And like I said, always when you're working in front of other people, at least for me, that's when I tend to goof up the most. But as you see, you can easily, quickly see your mistake. You know, if you get to, you're parking a thread and you're parking it someplace where, oh, there's already a thread there. Why is that? You can go back and look and double check yourself and say, ah, that's why. Because I parked it wrong. So here we're going to go up 1 and over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the next diagonal. So get that over here out of the way. And then this one is the heart. And there's 2 of those. So does anybody have any questions? Are you still there? This one I'm going to park. Right here. No, I'm not. That was wrong. That was wrong. I have one more up here to do. And then I think I'm going to end that thread because it's a wee bit short. My next one with that. Okay. So it's 2, 4, 5 up on the first one. 2, 3, 4, 5 up. It's this one and it's over 1. Two. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that's that. So that's that. And that. And that. And the last heart, and we're going to end this one off because it's just too short to bother carrying down here to the bottom. We'll start a new one down there. So I'm going to end this with a pin stitch. So I'm just going to pick a spot and come up between the threads at the bottom, go down in the middle of the square, come up between the threads at the top, go down again in the middle of the square. Okay, see how it leaves a little mark there? Come up in a corner and cut it off. And believe me, folks, it does not come out. If you have to frog and frog that pin stitch, you will find it does not come out. So I think that was $37.99. So now we're ready to start our next diagonal. So I'm going to start down here again. I'm going to work up. You can, if you choose, do this, work into your next diagonal if you choose to do that, or you can end off all your stitches at the bottom of the diagonal if you choose to do that. I mean, it's totally up to you. I need a drink. Was my chat not working, folks? Because now I am only now seeing a message that it's ready to display. What the heck? If it was not working, I truly do apologize. I truly apologize. If it was me, no worries, just thanking. Okay, somehow it's cutting off here. Oh, technical issues. Oh. So sorry. So sorry. I thought I had this all together, and then I end up with issues. Ugh. One of these days I will get this totally right, and we will have a smooth stream. So even though I think I have technology under somewhat of a control, it always seems to get the best of me. Oh, you like my organizing system? Yeah, for now, that's the one that I seem to like the best and keep coming back to. It's Bags Plus, and I got it on Etsy. I'm going to say it is just a smidge pricey. However, for me, I think it's worth it. I find it to be the system that I like the best. I even took, oh, I'm sorry, didn't I tell, the chart I'm stitching is, let me show you. Oh, don't fall. Let me show you. There we go. There we go. Oops. There we go. It's mini log cabin. And I'm starting down here in this lower right corner. So that's what we're working on today. So I hope you guys are all finding this helpful. I'm going to park it there. What I found by stitching this way is, and what I like about it the best is it covers up your thread carries. Like here, I had this 3799. I had to stitch it here and here, which is not bad at all. But then the next time I need it, after I get this, I'll get that out of the way, is over here. So because of that, where's my, and snag nabbits are handy for this. So my next occurrence isn't until over here, so I will have a thread carry in here. And when you stitch one thing at a time, you're covering up that thread carry. Am I not, Sky, am I not seeing everybody's comments? Is it all messed up again? I see yours. Oh. Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness. Okay. No, don't mess with that, Karen, then you can't see. Okay, if I go here, I can see everybody. Let me go here. Here I can see everybody. Okay, I'm just going to keep me out. Oh, it's showing older messages. Okay. All right, let me try this again. Oh my God. Let's make this a little wider. And I'll probably lose all the messages again. I did. Ah. Okay, now it's ready to display messages. So go ahead and message me. I'm going to just... Yay! Okay, now let me do my camera a bit. Now we're cooking with gas. Oh my gosh. You don't need to see my face anyway. We're talking about stitching. Yes, Joyce, whatever you asked, you have to ask again. Oh, okay. My chat window, it's a little small and hard for me to read, but I will do my best. So, let me try and get this a little closer to me. Oh, hi, Joyce. Yes, sometimes I do use the hoop the blah, 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 the loop finish, but not all the time. I just kind of go with my mood at the moment, to be honest with you. The stitch count for this one is, let me look again. Old age memory. 325 by 232. It is the mini. It's not the full sized one. So I'm just doing the mini. To be perfectly honest with you, I have kind of decided that I'm gonna try and stick with minis as opposed to full size ones because they just take so long. I've been working on my Stitcher's Retreat for 4 years, and I still have, oh, I just figured it out. I still have 84,000 plus stitches to do on that yet. So I still got a couple months to go, and in the grand scheme of things, that's just too long. What can I say? It's just too long. I have more that I want to stitch, and you know what? When you're looking at this end of the tunnel, life is short. Life is very short. So, to get stitched what I'd like to get stitched is, is there enough time? So I decided to concentrate on some smaller things. I parked that thread wrong. Some smaller things rather than all the biggie stuff. Something that's 325 by 262 is a lot more doable than let me mark this. It's a lot more doable than something that's 625 by, I think Stitcher's Retreat is 625 by somewhere around 750. That has 468,000 stitches in it. Yeah. Already working on it 4 years. Okay, granted, I took a year off to do the Christmas stockings for the grandkids, but still, that's a really, really long time when you think about it. And okay, put it in this one. And I'm just turned 69 in July. So when you look at it that way, you want stuff you can stitch a whole lot faster, or that doesn't take quite as long as Stitcher's Retreat is taking. I'm going to say I have another, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months to go in that one. If I average between, 15 and 20,000 stitches a month. So if I have 84 plus, I mean, that's at least another 4 months. And you know what? It is the process. I enjoy the process. You know, yes, Stitcher's Retreat, I really would love, absolutely love that one to be finished. And that's what I'm working towards, is having that one totally finished. Any of these other ones, I would love to get them finished. But it's the process. There's days I really don't care what I stitch. It's just that I do stitch. That's more important to me than what I stitch. People said to me when I retired, let me count here first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Aren't you going to be bored? And I laughed at them. I laughed. Bored? I said, are you kidding me? There's no way I'm going to be bored. Oh, it did mark. Okay. There's just no way to be bored. I said, all the stitching that I want to do, I will never be bored. And seriously, I'm not bored. 90% of my day is spent stitching. You know, I do things I need to do, and the rest of the day, we just stitch. Now, having said that, I really will apologize to everybody that I was missing in action here for a little while. I had several appointments, just routine things that I needed to get done, between the dentist and problems with my dental implant. But that's all taken care of now, and I should be able to get my tooth put on very soon. So I had appointments for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my daughter had some surgery. She has, the poor child, she's only 37 years old, and she has the bunions of an 80-year-old. They're awful. So she had the one foot done, and she was non-weight bearing on that foot for a while. So I went to stay with her for the best part of a week. since she really couldn't do much of anything but stay in bed and keep her foot propped up, which was fine, which was exactly what she needed to do. But with two small children who were, at that point, school had not started yet. 1, 2, 3. So they needed entertained. So Nana was the entertainment during that time. And then I was going down pretty regular because she had to go to physical therapy. And even though her husband is working from home and is upstairs in his office, which that's great, the kids still couldn't be left alone for when she had therapy. So I went down to stay with them. And by that time, school is starting, and she did not send them. They're not going to school in the classroom. They are attending school via Zoom, and they have a teacher. So what it is it's like being in a classroom. The teacher is with them all the time, and they have school virtually. So someone needs to be there to, especially Emmy, who's only 5 and in kindergarten, someone needs to be there to help her get signed on to her class, and they have class sessions, but then they have periods of time where they have to go into a program called Seesaw, and they have certain activities they have to do in there, and then take pictures of it and send that back to the teacher so the teacher can see what they're doing. So she needed help with that. So Nana was the helper, so that they could both get their school things done. And besides that, you really don't want to let a 5 and a 6-year-old, even though Dad's upstairs in the office, in his office, you really don't want a 5 and 6-year-old on their own at home like that. So Nana was more than happy to go down and spend some time with them. So that's the reason I was MIA for a couple weeks, because life just seemed to get in the way. So now we're back, and hopefully we can get back to a schedule of a couple times a week and just sit and chat. Okay, Joyce, take care. Hope you come back again. It was nice of you to drop by. I'm glad you did, and hope you are doing well. Okay, so that one's done. Oops. Okay. That one's done. We parked it there. Okay, so are you guys getting the gist here of what we're doing on the diagonal, and how how to do this. I kind of decided I'm gonna park into the next diagonal when I can. So that's why you see these threads over here. These are all for this diagonal. These few go to the next diagonal. And now I'm just going to work up this. Now when I get to the top of this one, and I don't know that we're going to stay on that long. How much time have we spent here? How much? Okay, we're on almost 2 hours. When I get to the top of this next diagonal, we have a choice. When I get up here, there's a choice. You can either work down, or you can end your threads, what you don't need in this next diagonal, and start at the bottom again and work up. If you're a top to bottom stitcher, when you get to the bottom, you can end your threads that if you haven't parked in the next diagonal, you can end your threads, because this is the bottom of the picture right here, and go back to the top, start new ones, work down again. And then do that same thing for every diagonal thereafter. Or, like I said, if you want to work bottom up, the same thing. When you get to the top, if you haven't parked over here in the next diagonal, you can end your threads and start new ones at the bottom again. What I would suggest you don't want to do is, say you reach the top, I would suggest you don't carry your thread all the way down here to the bottom again to work up, because that is a big waste of thread, number one, and it's a big jump and will add so much extra padding to the back of your work, and I don't believe that you would want that. So the longer the diagonal gets, the more beneficial it is to, whether you're bottom to top or top to bottom, to end your threads and then work them, start new ones to work that next one. Oh, thank you for wondering where I was. Oh, I'm sorry, this printing is so small, I need to make it bigger. I can't see your names, but I can see the posts. So, yeah, I hope and thank you to all of those that sent me messages to ask if I was okay. That was very, very kind of you, and I did appreciate that very much. Oh, hi, Jennifer. How are you? So that would be what I would suggest. When you finish a diagonal, the longer that diagonal is, like if you're up in here, you want to end the threads and go back to the respective end and restart your threads and work the direction that you prefer to work. And like I said, I'm working from the bottom up. And excuse me, and I started in the lower right-hand corner. Now, that brings me to a conversation I was having in the diagonal group yesterday. The issue of lines always seems to come up. And, when I first started demonstrating diagonal stitching, I was an advocate of there are no lines. It takes away the lines. That you don't see column lines or diagonal lines when you stitch this way. However, the more people are stitching this way, the more I get the question about lines. And I laid my piece out I have to lay it on the floor, to be honest with you, to see the whole thing. But I was starting to see very faint diagonal lines. And if I stitched in columns, like 10 stitch wide columns, I was seeing, like if I would stitch this column, I was seeing very faint lines. Now, nothing that I would get excited about, because once you wash your piece, chances are they would disappear. And after I wash my pieces, I roll them in a towel. I pat out all the excess water. I put bath towels on my ironing board, and I iron it then until it's dry. So as I'm ironing, I'm stretching and pulling to square it up, and make sure everything is in the right alignment. And I do a lot of pulling, and I'm hoping that those very faint lines are going to disappear. Chances are, because they are so faint, they probably will. However, I've seen people who have also had very prominent lines. That being said, what I have noticed is all of the lines go vertical. Okay? Vertical or diagonal. I have not, in my experience, noticed lines that go horizontal. Okay? So bear that thought in mind. Have any of you seen lines go across your piece as opposed to straight up and down or diagonal? So my question was, where do I get my fabric? I got fabric gridded like this, 1, 2, 3 stitch, and you can also get it at Heaven and Earth Designs. And if you Google it, there are other places that carry pre-gridded fabric. It's by Zweigert. My question on the group then became, and I don't know how many of you follow Blitz Stitch, Brian. He's the one that I first watched with regard to diagonal stitching. And when I watched his videos, which are very, very good videos, don't get me wrong, they are excellent videos, and he explains things very well. I, at that time, couldn't wrap my head around stitching up and down. So stitching, if you look at a compass, north to south, top to bottom, as opposed to the way I have always stitched, which was horizontally, right to left or left to right. Okay, so I had a hard time wrapping my head around that. That's why I showed this method and made videos on this method, because there were a lot of people that had a hard time with that. Now, that being said, I have never noticed Brian complaining or saying he had any lines with his stitching. And he stitches top to bottom. His rows run top to bottom. So my question is, or was on my group yesterday, if you stitch the way Brian does, top to bottom, have you noticed lines? Because I have never noticed a horizontal line. I've only ever noticed vertical or diagonal lines. So if by stitching top to bottom, where every stitch is going into that previous vertical stitch, on that axis, does that that of course eliminates a vertical line, and does staggering here also eliminate a diagonal line? Because I've never seen horizontal lines. Do you follow me? Does that make sense? So probably what I'm going to do when I get back up to the top of this diagonal is I'm going to try stitching it on the vertical axis, and see if that gives me lines. Because I'm really curious as to that. You know, I have said in the past that when you're stitching across your rows, when you're stitching east to west, right to left, however you want to look at that, if you stop at 10 stitches, this thread is pulling your hole this way, this thread is pulling your hole this way. So what that does is increase the space between these two, which then gives you that channel on the back and the column line on the front. So if all of your stitches going this way, all of your stitches are going to have the same pull out on them, and you're not going to get a channel this way vertically. Where your stitches join on the diagonal, is that going to create a channel on the back and cause a line? Or is it going to be more uniform and no lines? My friend Barb stitches the way Brian does. She stitches top to bottom on her rows. She does them top to bottom. And to the best of my knowledge, from what I have seen on her pieces, she does not have lines. So I'm going to do an experiment once I get, because I've started this one at the bottom now, and I didn't want to confuse people, you know, who are just learning, because I was doing this as a learning process for people who are just starting doing diagonal stitching, who are just starting doing full coverage pieces, as one of the methods that you can use. You know, you can use this same technique and stitch your 10 stitch wide column if you prefer. You don't have to do it on the diagonal. You can stitch a column. You know, but again, looking at, not that I expect my stitching to be perfect, because I'm not perfect. I am self-taught. I learned what I learned over many years. You know, I am not an expert. I am just another stitcher, just like all of you. It's just that I decided to do some videos and share the techniques that I use. But I do like my stitching to be as the best that I can do it. So it's an experiment to find, is there a better way? Is stitching vertically a better way? So I would be interested in anyone's thoughts on that. You know, do you think that will make a difference? You know, like I said, does anybody have Any thoughts? We were getting quite a discussion yesterday um, on just that subject. I don't know that there was any kind of a resolution. Um, I heard from people who do stitch the way that Brian does. And they weren't getting lines. So, like I said, it's a curiosity for me to know, will that make things different? Is that something that's worth changing the method of stitching? Because, like I said, I've never seen horizontal lines. Oh, my thoughts on would stitching your row, instead of like I'm doing here and stitching across the row, right to left or left to right, would stitching your rows top to bottom, like starting here and say coming down, and then this row going up, and then this row coming down, up, down, would that make a difference on whether you got lines or not? Because some people get, even though, I preached that diagonal stitching eliminated your lines, that you didn't get column lines and you didn't get diagonal lines, people were in fact getting lines. Maybe not very prominent ones, but they were getting lines. So my wonderment is, if we change the method and stitch north to south or top to bottom, would that make a difference in whether there were lines or not? So that's what I was interested in, people's thoughts. And, it may take some experimenting, of which I plan to do. Like I said, once I get to the top of this column, that's probably the way I'm going to stitch this piece. Oops, I keep moving this out of the way. Like I said, it just wonders me, and like I said, I'd like my stitching to be as the best that I know how to do it. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I don't profess to know everything. I'm just like each of the rest of you, and learning things along the way. And if we can all, if we can learn something new, why not? And if it's something new that can benefit our stitching, why not? Is it something that we want to spend the time in doing, or is it something that it's not that big a deal, and Yeah, and like I said, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. Um, and I'm not meaning to imply that people should stitch one way or another. The whole bottom line is stitch the way that works for you. Stitch the way that makes you happy. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, because that's what it's all about. It's, what makes you happy. And what you enjoy, because this is a hobby, folks. It's not our job. It's not something we do because we have to. It's something we do because we want to. So, just food for thought. You can leave me a comment on what you think about that, or shoot me an email. Or make a comment in the diagonal stitching group. There's a conversation going there on just that particular subject, and I'd be interested in what people think or what people have experienced, so that we can all learn and share. So let's see. Wowzers. So I've spent 2 hours with you guys. If no one has any more questions, I think we'll call it a day. I hope this has helped everyone. I hope for those of you that are new to diagonal stitching that it gives you a general idea of how it works stitching on the diagonal. Like I said, you can apply the same technique and stitch it in columns and do it just the same way. Yes, I agree. I think when people are stitching one page at a time, and they're definitely getting page lines. The blocks, I don't have any experience with people that are stitching using that block method. In the direction the picture suggests, kind of gives, oh geez, it's cut off, I can't read it all. Oh man, oh day. Yeah, I don't know. So leave me a comment in the comment section of the video. I'd be interested to hear, and we could maybe discuss a little bit more of that in my next video. I'm going to plan on doing one later this week. Probably tomorrow's the dentist again. That ain't gonna work. Probably Thursday or Friday. I'll send you a notice ahead of time. So with that, I think we're gonna end it right here. Like I said, hopefully you all got a good idea on how to stitch this way, and I hope it was helpful. Yes, you have a wonderful afternoon as well. I hope all of you have a great day and a great week, and I am going to see you all either Thursday or Friday. I'll send you a notice ahead of time so that you know, and I thank each and every one of you for stopping by, and anyone that is new, thank you so much for stopping. If you want to hit the subscribe button and the the little bell on YouTube so that you get the notifications. And the same thing for those of you that are on Twitch. If you want to follow and hit the icon to get notifications, you'll know when I go live. And I welcome each and every one of you, and thank you all so much for being here. And most of all, thank you for allowing me into your home today to share a little bit about how we stitch on the diagonal. So I will see you all next time, and have a great week, and I'll see you Friday. Thank you so much. Bye.